Hey, what's up? Hello, welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl. Today we are talking Mario. This is something that, we've all been waiting for. The kings of animated movies, Illumination, they're back with their newest entry with a small, unknown IP of Mario. A lot of people hate Illumination. I'm not one of those. A lot of people were dreading this movie. I wasn't really on either side. Like, I knew this movie was coming out. I honestly did not see much marketing for it. Obviously, it's not geared to people like me, but I didn't see many trailers for it in the theaters. I didn't see many ads on TV, but this movie is having a, great box office run so far. Biggest opening of the year. I predicted this would be the biggest movie of the year back in January. It looks like that's going to be true.
I really love Mario. I think it's a great world. I think that there's a lot of possibility to explore there. Super Smash Bros. Is a fantastic game too, and I think that the entire canon of Nintendo characters is just ripe for the exploring for cinema. This movie I was nervous for because you said you like Illumination. I don't. I think Illumination ruins basically everything. They have, in my mind, two good movies up to this point, and that's Despicable Me 2, which is shockingly good, as well as Sing 2, which the first Sing movie I think I gave a 1 out of 10. I hate that movie so much. The second one is shockingly good. Shockingly good.
Interesting, okay.
I think that Illumination is completely soulless. I don't like that their movies feel less like movies and more like marketing opportunities and merchandising opportunities. They turn characters into cute animals to sell stuffed animals, and then they just inject it with crappy pop songs that fill the score. So I was nervous about this movie, but that said, I am happy to see Mario making it to the big screen.
I can see why critics hate this movie, and I can see why the general audience adores this. And personally, I guess I would align myself as just a very passionate general audience member who maybe could be a critic at times, but more is like, I'm here more to have fun than to be like good or bad or sort of thing. And I like this movie. I don't think it's amazing or anything, but I think it accomplishes its goal. It's dumb, but it's dumb fun, and I think the all-star cast all adds their own flares to the ensemble. The animation is beautiful, and the movie just flies by. It's like 90 minutes, and you're in and out, and nothing really feels like, I'm here too long, let's get out of this, like I think some other Illumination movies can do. But Matt, what were your general thoughts with this movie?
I had such a blast. This movie delivered everything that I wanted out of a Mario movie, which is fun. A bit of nostalgia. Am I maybe clinging to my nostalgia too much on this one? Very possibly, but that said, I had a blast. I laughed throughout the whole thing. Like I said, I hate Illumination. I hate that they just inject pop music into all of their soundtracks. I hate the merchandising, and it's always surrounding like a very bland plot and like a boring world to look at, like The Secret Life of Pets or The Grinch. I think both of those movies are pretty mediocre in every way. But what this one has is great music, because it uses the themes that we know from all of these other games, all of this history of great music, and the world is beautiful. The world is so beautiful. It's so cinematic. It didn't just feel like they were making it for the money. It felt like this movie was made by people who grew up with Mario, or if they didn't grow up with Mario, put in the care to learn about Mario, to learn what people want out of this franchise, and not just to put together another Illumination movie. It felt like Mario. So it wasn't entirely soulless. It was just mostly soulless, but I just had so much fun. I don't care that it was like a soulless corporate product. Also, like you said, the animation was stunning. I genuinely think this might be the prettiest looking animated film that I have ever seen. Now, that said, it is way too fast-paced. You said that you liked that breezy pace and the movie flew by. I think that a lot of scenes required a bit more time. Sometimes it felt like they were clipping through the action to be like, we're here, now we're here, now we're here, and they're just going to agree to what we need so that we can get to the next thing and get to the next thing. I think they could have used like 20 extra minutes. But that said, I had a great time. I was grinning from ear to ear the entire movie. I had a blast.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with your too fast-paced comment. I would agree there. That's where some of my critiques with this movie do fall. But I'd rather have a movie that's like breezes by with no down points than a movie that's a little too long that you're like, I want to be out of here. Using another Illumination movie, for example, like I think Secret Life of Pets 2 is about 90 minutes, but it feels way longer. But I first want to mention this all-star cast. Chris Pratt, I think, was very good in the lead role. I get why people dug on him for the trailer, but I think if you're digging on him after watching this, you're just doing it because it's Chris Pratt, not because of what he's actually doing. And I have to agree with everyone. Jack Black slays as Bowser. Best vocal part of this movie, and he has some of the most memorable moments. But for just a very small character, that Penguin King, he maybe has like 10 lines in the movie, but he's like a Chad, but like in a good way. Like, I don't know, everything he says is just like great. I don't really know how to explain it, but it was always just so cool to see on screen. But giving one other shout out to a vocal cast member of this is Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Yeah, I know he's kind of being himself, but that whole Kong Country scene I thought was really fun. I really love his addition into that, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later as well, but I would love to see them, explore more of this world going forward.
I agree with you on Chris Pratt. I think that he was good. The controversy around him is based on the one line in the trailer, which was not in the movie, when he said, "Mushroom Kingdom, here we come," and he just sounded like Chris Pratt. He does not sound like Chris Pratt in the movie. He sounds like a Brooklyn Italian-American plumber. What did people want? Do you really want Charles Martinet doing the voice the entire movie? Going, "Wahoo! And let's go!" Like, no. You don't want that. That's not... No one wants that. I mean, people say they want it, but if they heard it, they'd be like, "Oh my god, shut this voice off." The voice works in the game because it isn't all the time, and it's not saying actual words. It's just grunting as you jump through things. So, I don't know. I think it's just... people are jumping on the bandwagon of hate. I mean, not to say Chris Pratt hasn't done a few things that really make it worthwhile questioning him and scrutinizing him. For example, his affiliation with that church that... that's not a good look. But that said, you can't get mad at him for his voice work in this movie. He is not just doing Chris Pratt. Also, obviously, yes, Jack Black rules. He's having so much fun, which means we are having so much fun. Otherwise, if I'm just mentioning a character, I don't know if I could say this is a voice actor, but I loved the nihilistic Lumali, the little star who's like giggling about death and the void and talking about the sweet release, and I was cackling every time that fucking star came on screen. And the voice actor was actually one of the director's daughters. So I think it's just a hilarious cameo for the director, one of the directors, to be like, "Hey, daughter, do you want to be a little cute character that talks about how much they want to die?" So good. I love that.
Well, that's an example of nepotism in a good way. But I guess to appease, our critic side, because, this movie isn't perfect. Yeah, there's corny moments, there are jokes that missed and whatnot, but as I mentioned before, it is dumb fun, and for every misstep, there was at least 2 or 3 positives for me. And my one big negative, and this may be a little bit controversial, but would be the character of Luigi. I didn't really care about him at all. Like, I get his character is supposed to have major loser energy, but I didn't really think that Charlie Day added much vocally to the character. Just Luigi's character overall and everything that was involving him that was not directly with Bowser. And then the aforementioned, it moves too fast and there's some dumb jokes and not enough time spent. Like, yeah, he runs into Donkey Kong. They immediately get together and go to the next thing. He meets Peach. They immediately get together. They go to the next thing. Would I have liked an extra 2-3 minutes for each of those scenes? Yeah, but I'd rather keep where we're at now than add more that does not go over as well.
This movie was made for someone like me who grew up with Mario. I don't want to cling on to the nostalgia because outside of the nostalgia, I just had a really fun time. That said, something that I would criticize is that it doesn't really introduce non-fans into the world. A lot of the movie kind of feels like it's going, "Hey, you remember this? Remember this thing? This thing you know about? Remember it? And now we're going to show you another thing. Do you remember that? Remember this?" A movie shouldn't just be for people who already know that thing and love that thing. You should tell the story in a way that captivates new people. If you're doing something that's full of references, you should still give new people a way to get into it and reward people who are loyal fans. I think a great example of that is the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. SpongeBob SquarePants movie does not require that you have seen the TV show. It's a movie set in that world. You get the characters right away, you get right into it, you understand everything you need, and someone who has no knowledge of SpongeBob could like that movie. I'm not sure someone who doesn't know anything about Mario would enjoy this movie whatsoever.
Overall, this is an Illumination movie. You know what you're going to get. But like Matt mentions, it delivers on its promises of Mario, and it accomplishes all those goals. It hits its demographic, and it's entertaining while watching, and encourages people, at least for me, to seek out more of the original media and the content, and that's all these type of movies are meant to do. And speaking of, like you mentioned, people who love this character and love this series, they're going to notice so many references and Easter eggs. So for me, my favorite would have to be that first sequence in Kong Country where you have the first instance of Mario Kart and you have the banana peels, you have cars racing into each other, crashing, all that stuff. I just ate it all up. And then that encapsulates in that Rainbow Road sequence where you have a full-out Mario Kart race, essentially.
There's a lot of stuff in the background that I really loved. Like, for example, there's a moment where they're walking through the desert from Super Mario Odyssey, and that just I thought that was just such a clever... That's how you should do references in these type of movies, where it's something that if someone doesn't know that, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter that they don't know the thing. It should be catering to everyone, but a little special for the fans of it. Also, seeing Peach's Castle on film, I think, was great. But above all else, the music is what I loved here. Hearing the themes that I'm familiar with incorporated into a brand new score, which I think Mario has some of the greatest music of all time, and I'm really glad that they utilized that. But after this, I do want to ask you another question. You said you're not a big Nintendo guy, so you might not have as much of an answer, but I feel very passionately about this. I really do want this to build into a franchise. I'd love to see this lead up to something, including more Nintendo characters, because like I said, they have such a great catalog of characters to work with. So what Nintendo franchises would you want to see them take on in the future, and how would you see like a Super Smash Bros. Universe unfold?
So I would love to see this continue and get more Mario movies, but I would love for it to be more of a kind of like what DC was doing with like the Joker and the Batman. They're in their own universe, but like they're franchises, and like we could get multiple Mario movies that don't have to overlap with a Sonic or a Zelda, but they can have their own franchises as well, and then maybe eventually they all correlate into like one big Smash Bros. Game, but also then they all stand alone in that meantime. Like, it's not like the current MCU or the DCEU where each movie has to reference the next one. They all can just stand alone at their own time. But like as I mentioned before, I would love to get a full Donkey Kong Country movie. That would really appease some of my favorite parts about playing Mario as younger.
I guess for me, what I'd want to see from like a Smash Bros. Universe is obviously you got to keep it to the really childish properties. Like, I 100% do not want to see Illumination ever touch Metroid. Like, that'd be a goddamn nightmare. Like, honestly, I think hearing the words Illumination, Metroid close together, like, gives me a heart palpitation. But otherwise, like, I'd love to see them take on Star Fox. I think that's a great property for Illumination, because you've got animals, and it's in space, and it's basically Star Wars, but with animals. That's such a good property for them. As much as I would hate to see Illumination do The Legend of Zelda, I think that they're going to, and it's probably going to be pretty okay as long as they stay the hell away from shitty pop songs, like they always do with these goddamn movies. The last thing I need is a Legend of Zelda movie scored by, like, Katy Perry and Kelly Clarkson. Like, that's the last thing I need. Please don't. Don't do it. But that said, I'd love to see this continue to build out. I'd love a Luigi's Mansion movie. Charlie Day said that he really wants to do that. I would really, really love to see Donkey Kong Country happen. But like I said, steer clear of those more T for teen or M for mature games. Stick to the properties that are E for everyone. But that said, I'm not against Illumination taking on more of these, especially if they have the same quality of animation.
I like the Star Fox one example you gave. That does sound very Illumination. And obviously, I don't know how you can make this into a movie, but the concept's cool enough, and I'm sure Illumination can run with it. Animal Crossing. I don't know how you make that a movie, but that just sounds very Illumination.
There's an anime of Animal Crossing. I watched it the night before Animal Crossing New Horizons came out because I was pumped to revisit a game from my childhood, because I'm a nostalgic loser like everyone else.
I just want to see Tom Crook become a huge Illumination type villain.
Tom Crook. His name's Tom Nook, but Tom Crook is accurate because he is a landlord who just
Yes, he
takes
stole
all
all
of
my
your
money.
All of your money.
Yeah.
Takes it. He takes it.
Exactly, yeah. He steals all my money, just like the Oscars will do for this movie, because I don't think they'll give this the time of day. People saying song, no, it's not. It won't even be shortlisted. The Oscars don't do comedy songs. Borat was arguably the next one in line. No nomination for Wuhan Flu. Last year, Bros had a very, I wouldn't say popular, but like well-regarded song, not even shortlisted. And they continuously show year after year, we don't do comedic songs. I think the last comedic song to even get in would be, I guess, a comparable example here of Everything is Awesome from the Lego Movie, but that movie was the animation frontrunner that just happened to be snubbed from the category, while Mario probably won't even be top 6 or 7 when we get to the Oscars.
I would say the last time a comedy song got nominated was Husavik, my hometown, but that's not a comedy song. It just is a song that happens to be from a comedy movie.
Yeah.
It's a really good song. Peaches is not a very good song. It's a catchy song. Has it been stuck in my head all day? Yes. Is it a good song? No.
When we get to the end of the year, you're going to have, if you go, check out our episode that we did last week predicting the craft categories, we have a lot of musicals, we have a lot of songs being performed actually in the movie this year, so there's probably not room for this one to come as well.
I see 0 nominations ahead too. I think with animation, this is going to be one where we think it could happen the entire season long, because we'll get to like the Golden Globes and it'll be there. We'll get to the PGA, it's going to be there. It's going to miss a few places like BAFTA, Critics' Choice, but then we're going to go into Oscar morning being like, oh my god, is Super Mario going to get in? And then it's not, because of course the voters in the animation branch and the voters who volunteer to vote for animation, they're not going to give a shit about this movie. They're just not going to care. They're not going to care.
I'll say if it does happen to sneak a like Critics' Choice or a BAFTA, yeah, it's in. But it has to get that. If it gets Globe or PGA like Matt just mentioned, I'm not going to give it time of day. But if it gets one of those other two, sure, I'll cave.
It would also have the lowest Metacritic score for a Best Animated Feature nomination since 2017, when they randomly nominated The Boss Baby and Ferdinand.
With all that being said, Oscars aside, we both enjoyed this movie. Let us know down below if you enjoy this movie. Let us know your favorite references, your favorite characters, or if you didn't like this movie, what about it did you not like besides it was a cash grab or that Chris Pratt was playing Mario? Love to hear. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.